Coach, I mean, getting back to Curry, is it also one of those nights too where it looked like he was just he was kind of in his zone tonight because there were a couple times he made some shots where even I think he seemed surprised by the by the result.
He had a couple of those, I think, but geez, he certainly made a lot of spectacular shots. I think the one he banked in obviously probably surprises anybody, and then he pulled one from about 40 feet. I think it might have been his last one, but it was one of the last ones, and he made that one too. So. Yeah, I mean, listen, you let him shoot it in any way. He's got a chance of making it go in. He can make them guarded. He can make them from anywhere on the court, and he can make them in a variety of ways.
Steph, you're the first in NBA history to go 8 for 8 from 3 and have 10 assists in the game. And I think the 8 for 8 is the most made threes you've had yourself, your personal high. What was tonight like for you, especially with your thumb? And like, where did even the bank 3? Did you just know it was going to be your night?
First off, thanks for making up in a stat that I could be the first at. That's pretty cool. I didn't really think nothing of it. Sometimes when you have like a little injury or something that's random, it kind of forces you to focus a little bit. And just be free, just happy I got to play because I was kind of unsure going into the day. But I didn't get many attempts. I got up in the first half, but all 4 of them were really good in rhythm shots. And then from there, you kind of just flowing off of the joy of, things going our way and having a day where, Dennis hit 3 in the first half. JK came in, hit some big shots. Moses, like everybody was kind of just feeling the rhythm of the night, and those last 3, the glass ones just that is your night, and you just gotta laugh and have some fun with it.
Last game, you said that you guys were average, but tonight, I mean, it was completely different, and you didn't lose the league. What do you think the adjustments were to make things so easy?
Make shots. I mean, when you make shots, everybody feels good, and it helps your defense because you stay engaged. And we've had a long run where shots just weren't falling. I think this is the first time we've shot over 50% in a long time. So it's, huh? 22 games. Yeah, I mean, that helps. And you just want to maintain confidence. I know what I said last game, and I meant it because we are, you are what your record says you are. And we have been playing below average basketball for a long time. Obviously, I take accountability for a lot of that. And at the end of the day, you just want to play free and have fun. I celebrated my first 3 and just to try to infuse some joy into the game. So we have to try to maintain that even if, shots don't fall for a certain stretch of a game. Just stay locked in.
Steph, how difficult was it to go 8 for 8 from 3 and only take 8 threes?
That was the weird part because, like I said, I shot 4 of them in the first half, I think, and their defense, they were trying to force everything into the paint, switching, but we were moving the ball all over the place. So eventually, you're gonna get looks. You just gotta stay patient. It's easy when you are making all of them, but it's one of those games, too, where I didn't necessarily feel like you need to force anything. And only thing I would have wished I would have forced if Raymond would have yelled that I think 9 is the record for most makes. I would have forced one after that, but I didn't know.
Steph, Philly obviously came out tonight to try to shut you down, but as the first quarter, you kind of alluded to it, as other guys are starting to hit shots for you guys, how much did that change and open up the court for you?
Well, opening up the court, it just makes you think about every option that we have out there. Like, obviously, 42 assists is indicative of good ball movement or good organization, taking care of the possessions, finding the open guy, and no matter who gets it, they can finish the possession with a shot. So my game was indicative of how we all played, and it was a beautiful, brand of basketball. And it seemed like everybody who stepped foot on the floor had conviction about what they were trying to do, and we need to maintain that.
Steph, how would you sort of describe Draymond's season to this point? and the impact he's had. I mean, we've seen it for years, but had some turbulence last season. Obviously, he was out for stretches, and this year it seems like tonight. I mean, he kind of gets lost in the shadows, but 15, 7, and 6, and he seems sort of renewed vigor on defense too. I'm just curious how you would sort of characterize what he means to this team in trying to get you guys going.
I think since the second half of last year and this whole year, we've had our team kind of down spurts, and it's been frustrating at times. But I think he's just made it about basketball, and for him, he made that commitment last year, and I think he's lived up to it. To your point, some nights it won't show up in the stat sheet. Sometimes it will. His defensive effort and his leadership on that end of the floor has been great. Taking on, the challenge, putting his body on the line. I know there's a whole lot of talk about what position he plays and all that other stuff. Like, he makes winning plays, and when the offense is there too, it's an added bonus. So you want him taking the shots that when he's open, knocking them down like he's been doing. It gives us such a big boost when he's, confident especially from three. But then defensively, you don't want to take it for granted. To your point, he's a master on that end of the floor, and he's continued to show it.
How consequential was pace and tempo tonight, and just what went into sustaining that for the course of 4 quarters?
Last game against Cleveland, we had it in the first half, and then when shots stopped falling, it's human nature. You kind of get a little defeated. And that affects, your first 3 steps either direction. It affects the trust to move the ball. Tonight, we were rewarded with that effort early because guys were knocking down shots. And it was just contagious. And for us, the way that we play and the way that we're going to be successful, it has to be that for that style for as long as you can sustain it. We talk about it in practice. We talk about it in timeouts, pregame, like whatever. The execution hasn't always been there.
I remember the conversation in Phoenix after the loss about the 13-man rotation, and you even saying the need to trim it a little bit. It's 9 tonight. It's kind of being pretty consistently trimmed now down. I mean, how much do you think that is helping?
I mean, asking a lot of the guys over the course of the season, it's great when you're winning and it's tough when you're not, because it's the way this league works, obviously, and kind of the predictability of knowing when you're going to be in, who you're going to be out there with, that does matter. Guys having an understanding of where their possible shots are going to come from and starting to get, a rhythm. We've talked about it, obviously, as of late. I know BP's out, and he's part of that 9-10, rotation, whatever it is. And you even got Kyle and Loon, who have played significant roles for us at certain parts of the season, not get minutes. So, again, it's tough because that's the challenge of this team. But I think narrowing the roles and the rotation just helps everybody because you start to build a little bit of chemistry. It's not an easy thing, and will continue to be a challenge for us until it's not. But it's one of those things about our identity as a team that we have to keep addressing and staying locked in on.
Hey, Steph. I spoke to a 101-year-old woman this evening. She said she was going to be your lucky charm tonight, and I think they rolled her out at halftime. You had a chance to have an exchange with her. What was that all about?
That's a strong way to put it right there. Chatty Q straight. I just appreciate her support of our team, the fact that she says she's over a century old and still, DubNation through and through. So I shook her hand and took a picture, and I haven't missed since.
Hey, Steph, if I could ask a follow-up to the Draymond question. You mentioned the conversation about which position he plays, and he obviously starts out at 4 with Trace, which gives you a big defensive presence, and it seems like right away, the next change is J.K. coming in, and then Draymond goes to the 5, and that lineup's been effective for the most part. How does it feel different when it's J.K. and him, or versus him and Trace? How does it change the dynamics, I guess?
We have certain play calls that are catered to when Draymond's at the 5. And when Trace is at the 5, we have, or anybody else is at the 5, and defensively, you give up size, obviously, but you gain speed and a little bit of athleticism, so you try to cater to that a little bit. I think at the end of the day, for us, it usually shows up on offense. If we're not organized with Trace and Draymond at the 4, Trace at the 5, Draymond at the 4, it can get ugly really quick because we don't have an intentionality of what we're trying to do on offense, and teams know that. But we've gotten better at that as of late. At the 5, when Draymond's at the 5, the chaos can kind of roll a little bit easier because he's making plays, and there's usually a little bit more space out there. So it's just one of those subtle adjustments you have to make on the fly, no matter or depending on who is playing what role.